Respectability politics, gosh, it's the most annoying thing of 2014. I don't think I've ever seen it more evident, maybe because I was oblivious before, and I want black people to understand it doesn't matter how we behave. White supremacy is going to work how it wants to work. You can be as model minority as you want to be, they're still not going to like you. They're still going to ask you to leave their country. You're still not going to get a job. You might as well live how you want to live if you want to be quote-unquote ghetto, if you want to sag your pants. If you want to not comb your hair, I think you should just do what you want because it's not going to make a difference. Don't really know how to explain that, even to people like my parents, how to explain not to be that kind of immigrant anymore that's trying to appease the empire in some way by being a good colonial subject and speaking English as properly as possible and wearing long suits and wearing stockings. These are the kind of things my mum attributes to being a respectable young lady, which apparently I'm not, which is fine. Yeah, respectability politics. Respectability politics affect those who are marginalised anyway. So black women are going to be marginalised because of their gender and they're going to be marginalised because of their race at the same time. So I can imagine it affects us more than anybody else. This is not me trying to cry victim. I don't want to be a victim of my life. It's just something that's extremely evident that I can't ignore. So that's the frustrating thing that black women are going to experience more. And because of that, in turn, black women end up policing other black women even more. The option to reject respectability politics, I think, is a privilege, of course. Some can and some can't. Thinking about where you are, where you live, where you work. If it's easier for you and safer for you to dilute yourself in some kind of way, then by all means, please do it. I don't want you to do it to other people. So make that choice for yourself and apply it to only you. Just don't expect the same of your colleague or your peer or your sister. I completely understand that as a privilege, that if you can. The fact that I can mostly reject a lot of things is a privilege of being in a very Western country, being born here, so I don't have to worry about having a passport or those kind of things. I can genuinely do what I want. I can be unfair, but I'm mostly not. That's my own choice. I don't expect the same of my neighbour across the street. No way. We can be very misogynistic, all of us. I think in particular, black activists, I guess. We're forever looking towards the past, and it's beautiful that Malcolm and Martin and Mary and Olive Morris and Stuart Hall were all here before us. They've all done great things. I think it's beautiful, but we don't need to look to them in such a dependent way. We can appreciate, but we have to follow. We can still admire and still acknowledge the fact that they were probably problematic in some ways too. So I think we should allow that space to make new blueprints, foster a new practice. We don't have to dream about 1970. I think trauma is definitely passed down. I think it's passed down spiritually, mentally and physically. I almost feel like when our mothers are giving birth, they're giving birth to like pain and trauma too. We're put into this world with a whole other world on our back. It's more than evident. It's evident in the way we see ourselves, in the way we present ourselves, that the lack of self-love sometimes, or strength in some senses, definitely comes from this burden that we are carrying that typically, unfortunately, has been passed down. Any issue you can imagine, whether it's dealing with race or dealing with gender or your sexuality or religion or anything that you're battling inside, there's a chance your parents have battled the same thing. And my personal issue is that my parents are not very forthcoming with information or just speaking, so I can never really speak to my mother about the trauma I know she's been through. She came here as a 12-year-old to a brand new country that she didn't know, to her mother she didn't know either. And I can only imagine what it would have been like to cross those seas on the plane by yourself and not really understand where you're going or why. And when you get here, dealing with what she had to deal with and having children, but then not really ever addressing that. I see it in my brothers and I see it myself, so I know that's passed down and I can definitely see it in myself and others. And until we start to address it, all we're going to do is pass it down to our own children, which is generational now, upon generation of this trauma. Can you imagine how long we've probably been carrying this around? All of us not really having the emotional capacity or maturity to actually deal with that. I had the question the other day how much I attributed my lack of Black British knowledge or Black history in general to my parents or the generation before me. For a long time I felt failed by them because they didn't do anything. But I had to understand that when you're in this new country, you're not particularly worried about setting up cultural institutions and anything else. You're literally, like you said, trying to survive. It's about paying the rent, it's about finding a school for your children, it's about finding food. It's not, oh, what books can we pass on, what book can I write to pass on to my children so they know how to deal with their emotions when they're older. I think we're now in a privileged position and not have to worry about, for the most part, not have to worry about children or rent or anything else. We definitely have the time and the energy to spend on fixing ourselves and others that our parents probably didn't have. So I was in the States when this was going on, and I couldn't even fathom the idea of one, the barbecuing, put this on, two, this being a thing that's really happening in 2014. It was just something I was like, wait, what? How was no one considered when you did this? I don't want to know how you justified it, I just want to know how quickly it can take it to get it down, which clearly was a bit of a while because people had to stake out to get that done. Disturbing, to say the least. I really knew not to trust those institutions. I've already not trusted them for a very long time. I don't think they'll be as bold and brazen, is the better word. Put an exhibition with Black people in the cages and see no issue with it. Any faith I had, which was none, makes it even more desolate now in British institutions in regards to art, what they consider art, how far they're ready to push boundaries in the worst possible way. I think it's laughable that Britain really considers itself to be like forthcoming and progressive. I think I have to laugh. They're just really not there, but they believe they are. It's endearing sometimes. Like, oh, it's like seeing a small child make a mistake. It's kind of, this is quite pathetic. You shouldn't be doing this. I expect more. I live in a cosmopolitan city, one of the busiest in the whole world. Why can we not get this right? There are many of us here. We should have a stake or claim in all institutions because we're here. Period, enough. Not because we deserve it or we've worked so hard. It's because we're here. That's a valid enough reason for us to be represented in every aspect of life in England, which we're not. But in regards to art institutions, I want to bypass them in every way possible. I don't particularly care about ever being associated with the British Museum or Tate or anywhere else. We need to make our own spaces, which is what we're all doing. I think us continuing to have these expectations of these institutions is going to continue to prove problematic and disappointing. It ties in with respectability politics. It doesn't matter what you do or how you represent yourself, they just simply don't care. I don't know why they don't care. I don't care to know why they don't care. I care for us to now stop looking towards them like lost sheep and we don't know how to guide ourselves. I don't feel like I should have to, in some ways, subtly beg when I can just as easily find a way to make my own space. They're not going to give it to us. They have never given it to us. I think it's very silly for us to continue to believe they will. I feel like Kinyarwanda has been to like 5 other countries around the world, and London only picked him up last year after he proved himself in all these other huge ass spaces. He's now feeling like he's getting the attention he's supposed to get. He's now doing what he's supposed to do, even though 90% of your audience are going to be the complete opposite of who you're trying to look for. But many have done it. I mean, I'm glad I got to see Kinyarwanda in London, but even that exhibition was a bit, oh gosh, this is not for me. But I constantly put myself in these spaces where I'm genuinely uncomfortable and visibly uncomfortable too, just so I can experience these artists and their art. I'm not sure how much longer I can do that, but I don't think we should understand these institutions as automatic visibility. Who are you visible to? Whose gaze are you concerned about? Because there's nothing about the Tate that's inviting or welcoming or trying to get the numbers up of BME residents. So how much are you really going to sacrifice? And I feel like they are sacrificing a lot. It's either they're not concerned at all, which is some. I can think of a couple of artists who are just not concerned at all. And you have obviously claimed they're concerned, but only push to have their pieces in these spaces. What's particularly unwelcome about some of these institutions, they don't value us as people. It's almost as if there's a level of humanity we haven't reached yet, apparently. And until we get to that level, however we're supposed to get there, Black people should be denied entry into a lot of things, and we should just accept it. So our art, if they even want to call it art, because sometimes they don't even recognize it as that, is less than automatically, it's not automatically going to be undervalued. So because of this, if they don't value us, They don't see the things that we produce as art. They don't see us as artists. They're not gonna see us as people who can therefore appreciate what they consider to be art. So I don't need to welcome you into the take because the take's not for you. I need to welcome you into the barbecue because it's not really for you. You can come if you want. I can't physically stop you. But once you're here, I'm not going to do anything to actively engage you in this because I don't believe you are someone who can be engaged. So explaining particular points of my lifestyle, whatever that is, when it's really just myself, it gets very frustrating very quickly. In particular, me explaining why I'm not monogamous or why I don't practice monogamy. I don't want my kind of love to ever offend or to harm others. So that requires me to be very open and honest about the fact that I can love many people, emotionally, sexually, and otherwise, simultaneously. I feel like men are assumed to be non-monogamous most of their lives until they choose to marry a woman, whilst a woman is assumed to be one man only, or one woman only. You're a woman, Rihanna, just have one boyfriend and a couple of children and be content. And the scary thing is that I almost had that life. I was very, very close to it. This is a couple of years ago. I had a fiance and I had very set plans. I woke up one day and was very discontented and not understanding why. I didn't even know what polyamory was. I didn't know that non-monogamy was an option. I just knew this particular path I couldn't do, and it made me really uncomfortable, really unsettled. And for me to have that feeling about something that's so normal to others, it really freaked me out for a while. I couldn't not be with a man who's in front of me who wants to marry. I couldn't not give him what he wanted. I had to. That was generally how I saw it, and I saw no other option until one day something awoke in me. I didn't watch anything, I didn't speak to anyone. It was one day waking up and feeling very, very uncomfortable. Not nice to be second guessed and for people to assume I was hurt. At one point when it was quite the opposite, I wasn't left, I left. It would all be so extreme to believe that something like polyamory or any other kind of behavioural patterns then excuses a set of another. One behavioural pattern doesn't excuse another. It doesn't. Sometimes it can inform another, but it doesn't excuse it. Humans are going to behave how they feel to behave. In particular, men, because they're allowed to get away with it. We have a culture that reinforces their disgusting behaviour. So there's absolutely nothing that women can do to change the way that men behave. Men can only do that for themselves if they want to. It seems like they don't. And that kind of attitude is problematic. It's the victim blaming. It's the person with less power blaming. When we have a culture that allows it and excuses it, that's the issue. We all have a part to play. The alternative lifestyle doesn't then excuse alternative behaviours. It's really wild that we think that way. It ties in with respectability politics. It doesn't matter what you do, how you represent yourself, they just simply don't care. I don't know why they don't care. I don't care to know why they don't care. I care for us to now stop looking towards them like lost sheep. I almost feel like when our mothers are giving birth, they're giving birth to like pain and trauma too. We're put into this world with a whole other world on our back. We should have a stake or claim in all institutions because we're here, not because we deserve it or we've worked so hard. It's because we're here. That's a valid enough reason for us to be represented in every aspect of life in England, which we're not.